Our next order of business will be the Holland Road Widening Project update. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, as we look at this upcoming presentation, we're at about 5 minutes to 5. I didn't know. We can probably do this in about, I would say, 15 minutes. I didn't know if you wanted to defer this until maybe a staff report at regular session or proceed with the presentation at this time.
15 minutes, we're probably okay now if it's meet your approval.
Yes.
Are you okay now?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we left you enough time for closed session. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, of course, the notice to proceed has been issued for the Holland Road Route 58 widening project about a week ago. With that, the Director of Public Works, L.J. Hansen, will provide an overview of the upcoming work and the schedule. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. It is my extreme pleasure to be able to present this item to you this afternoon. This is a project we've had in the works for a very long time. In fact, I included this first slide because this is kind of indicative of the western end of the property, of the project at the point that we started this project. This is where the center point, no longer center point, now Equus development exists today. When we started this project, that's what it looked like. Well over 10 years in the making. This is easily the biggest capital improvement project the city of Suffolk has ever undertaken. And as the manager stated, we are underway. We are definitely going to start to see a lot of activity in this corridor. Just for virtue of fairness, I also included a picture of the eastern end. This is right at the approach to the bypass around downtown. So where we are today, we have utility relocations are ongoing. They're wrapping up. They should be concluding within the next 30 to 60 days. Our contract with the contractor allows for us to do a little bit of that wrap-up work, so they'll be operating in the same corridor. But again, we've been engaged with our contractor, making sure that everybody has the ability to work where they need to, and I'll give a little bit more information on that. The contract itself is complete. We've routed it through all of our state and federal agencies. We have given notice to proceed. That notice to proceed is already in effect, so equipment is on site, and the contractor is making preparations at this point to begin in earnest. We are going to definitely see a lot of activity kicking off in the next 30 days. A little bit more about the contract. The construction estimate for the work that is underway is $44.8 million. The contract award came in at $43.3 million. So I would say that our engineer did a very good job on the estimate. While we came in under bid, $1.5 million on a project of this size can get consumed. This is a large project. It's going to span over 4 years. We are not exactly comfortable with the amount of window that we have available here. There are, of course, we have contingency monies built in. We have some other funds that are in place. However, I would caution City Council that we have maxed out all of our funding sources from the state and federal agencies. We're under bid. We've done what we can do to this point, but we do know that there's still a long road ahead of us, and so we will be keeping you appraised of the budget as we move forward. Curtis Contracting had the winning bid, so Curtis Contracting is the prime contractor on this project, but they are by no means the only contractor. They will have a number of subcontractors on the project. They will have a number of subcontractors on the project. In order to manage a project of this size, the Department of Public Works is engaged with 2 other engineering firms to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to be efficient in moving the project forward, that we're being responsive to the requirements that we have under the various grants that were administered for these projects. And we've employed the Alpha Corporation as a project construction management. So they will be actually the construction managers on site. Now we have staff that are overseeing them, but they are the project construction management. They're going to make sure that all of our invoices are properly accounted for, that we're paying the right amounts, that we're doing the things that we're required to do so that we make sure that we stay in compliance with the laws and regulations under which we've been given these grants. On top of which, we've hired another firm, AMT, to be the construction inspectors. And they're going to make sure that everything, again, large-scale project, we don't have enough inspectors in the city of Suffolk to do all of the work that we're doing and stay on top of this project, so we've employed outside assistance. I tell you that because it's important that you know that we take this project very seriously. It's a very large-scale project. It is a project that we feel adequately prepared for. We've been looking at this for a number of years, and we've partnered with good partners to make sure that we stay on track, keep the project moving, keep it on budget, and do the things that we need to do to make sure that it's a successful project. A little bit about the project. It's broken up into 4 phases. The first phase, obviously, is the one we'll start with, and it lasts about 6 to 9 months. And that's where we're going to see work starting on the north side of the road. We're going to construct 2 additional lanes. We're going to call them temporary, but they are actually going to be within the roadway boundaries. They just will not be finished lanes initially. And this is going to allow us to be able to shift traffic and be able to keep 2 lanes of traffic in both directions open for the duration of the project. So phase 2 then is, we'll have shifted the westbound traffic to the temporary pavement, and eastbound will shift over to the other side of the road. That'll allow us to work on the south side. And that's the order by which this project is going to move. We're going to build lanes, we're going to shift traffic to that to make sure that we can maintain a complete and thorough movement of traffic. And as you look at the schedule here, you have about 6 to 9 months in phase 1, about a year in phase 2, about 18 months in phase 3, and that's where we have a lot of curb and gutter work that's going on, and it just takes a lot of finish work, on top of which then we have to start shifting traffic back. And then obviously the last one there, phase 4, lasts about 9 months. Again, the total estimated time of construction is 45 months. We're very excited because we're able to kick off in spring, meaning we're going to get good summertime months to get us started. We're not trying to start off in a wet climate. That makes all the difference in the world in how we're doing the construction. I wanted to give you a little bit of I thought this was going to be an up-to-date picture. This is about a week and a half old, but actually things have already changed in that short amount of time. This is at Manning Bridge, aiming westbound from one of the city's drones. I wanted to point out, using this picture, that there's actually 4 projects going on in this corridor at this time. And that coordination is also really important with what we're doing. We have, of course, the Holland Road project, which is what we call the project as a whole. A subset of that project, though, is the Manning Bridge intersection project. So when you looked at CIP, when you approved CIP, you noticed that there were 2 different projects. They're funded slightly different. They're both under contract from the prime contract, but we have to keep them separate, and that's another part of why we have our contractors, to make sure that the work that we're doing is kept separate. We also have private development, which is what we call the Road A improvements, which is at the Equus development. That work is already ongoing. That's where we are seeing the barrels on the western edge of the property. That's to construct this road, which goes into the building that is under construction right there. So as we look at this, they're building a road to serve a brand new facility, which they're trying to get open at the same time that we're trying to build a road. Ultimately, the intersection that is there is about 3 to 4 feet lower today than what it will be at the final conclusion of the project. So you can imagine the level of coordination. We're trying to build these roads, dealing with the fact that we have cars going through it all the time, knowing that we have to build it up, and it all has to be timed, and there will be hiccups. We know there will be hiccups, but it is our intent to continue to work through those. And to that end, I just wanted to talk about some of the items that we have really stressed with our contractors, that we've stressed with the subcontractors, and where our minds are as we look forward to this project. Number one, not number one, but among the number 1 priorities we have is maintenance of traffic. That's really important to us. You've heard me say a number of times, it's our goal to keep 2 lanes of traffic in both directions open at all time. We recognize that this is the heart of an economic engine for the community of Suffolk. It's our desire to make sure that traffic can not only flow through this area, but that the businesses can be served. Businesses are open along this corridor. We know they're open. We intend to do everything we can to facilitate the successful operation of those businesses throughout the course of this project. We want to make sure that we have limited closures or delays. There will be times that we're going to have to close a lane. There will be times that we'll have some minor interruptions, but it's our intent to do everything we can to minimize those opportunities, to put them into weekends if necessary, if it's going to be something that we think to be truly impactful, or if possible in the evening. But there is a residential component along this corridor, so we want to be cautious and considerate of that as well. Community communications, really important. For a project of this size, we recognize the community has a lot of questions. We recognize that you're going to get some of those questions. It's our intent to have community meetings at key points. That may be town hall, it may be updates through our media, social media, council briefs. It's our intent to keep citizens up to date with what's going on, especially as we get close to those periods where we're shifting traffic. You're going to see a change in the condition that exists out there. So if we're shifting traffic to the northbound or to the north lanes, or if we're at each of those phase points, we'll definitely want to let you know what's coming up well in advance. And then the last item that I have on here, I can't stress enough, I put it last because I really want it to be the thing that stays in our mind is safety. I mentioned that there's 4 projects that are at play here, and I actually skipped the last one, which is Pump Station 24. It's a utility pump station project that's located on the corridor that they're also doing work at the same time. So there are, again, 4 projects in here. A lot of construction workers on an already very busy, very crowded, very risky corridor. And so we have partnered with public safety. We've asked their assistance to help us monitor this corridor, to assist us in monitoring speeds, and they have agreed to do so. We're not exactly sure if changes are going to be required. For instance, it may require a change in the speed limit. We don't know that yet until we have the opportunity to see how well people are obeying what we have. We'd like to keep it at the existing speed because changing the speed limit will increase congestion. Increasing congestion causes other problems. So we'd like to keep it at the current posted 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. We may be looking at high fine speeds, but the intent is to continue to move traffic through the corridor safely, and that's what we really want to do. And to that end, what we really ask is that people stay alert. Pay attention as you're moving through this corridor. Please be aware that it's about your safety as the traveling public, but it's also about the safety of the men, women that are doing the work on the road out there. With that, I would ask if you have any questions, if you have any special concerns that you'd ask us to be mindful of. Robert Lewis will be the Acting Director of Public Works effective tomorrow, and he's available as well, so if you have any questions, we're certainly available.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for all your hard work in your department. Like you said, this is a long time coming. It's just been a huge, huge project, and to get to this point now is really the culmination of a lot of work from a lot of people. Council, questions? Councilman Fawcett.
Okay, I just want to say thanks for the presentation. That is a big undertaking that we're going through for that corridor, which I think my colleague here is going to speak a little on the bad and the need for that. The one thing you can expect, you don't have to ride it, but a couple of times, the truck traffic coming through there is enormous. So I would expect the police department should be reared up and ready to go, because you're going to have some crashes there. We have it on a normal day, so just going through the construction is really going to be a challenge. But I'm thanking you for bringing it forward. It's great. It's great to see some of these road projects really coming to life. And that one's been a long time. Like you said, that's been a number of years. So if we can just bear with it for a few months, which is 48 months, but we'll see an end to the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you.
Councilman Johnson.
I'll be brief too, LG. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot as we move forward here, since that's my borough. I'm glad to hear you talk about the signage and the speed limit, because it is one of my major concerns. We need to make sure that we address this well before you get to where it begins, maybe up toward Loomis Road, because these trucks are literally, you know what they're doing, they're flying, and the cars. So we need to make sure people are aware, and I'm glad you're at least considering reducing the speed limit probably to Loomis, or at least far enough back where they're slowed down. And then my other question is, are you going to begin on which end of the road? Have we made that decision yet?
We did have a conversation with the contractor. They're intending to start on the western edge. So on the northbound side of the road, which would be the westbound lanes, on the western edge of the project. In all honesty, Councilman, they will have that whole corridor disrupted at some point. But the intent is, during mobilization requires different parties coming in. It's the wisest choice is for us to start on the western edge because there's less development in that area. We wouldn't want to start on the eastern edge because it's so heavily developed, and it would take us, we want to minimize the disruption to the eastern edge where all the businesses
And I
are.
agree 100%. My point being said, though, is with what's going on the western edge right now with this stoplight going in for the industrial park, that's where they'll start. So all of that will be, it's going to be a mess there right away pretty quick because it's a mess right now. But that's where you're talking about starting, correct?
They're going to start on that end, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear. Everything on the northbound side is going to be disturbed.
Right.
I would say within 30 to 60 days, we'll see it all along.
We're excited to get it started, I'll be honest with you.
Absolutely.
4 years is a long time, so let's get this thing rolling. I just want to make sure that we have in place key people that the city, that the residents can talk to, and we really need, it needs to be a lot of information put out as we go along, because this is 4 years of, these people are going to be dealing with 4 years. And there's a lot of traffic coming from the west that are going to be affected, but thank you. I'm ready for it to get rolling too, and I'm more than happy to work with anybody, but my main concern is the safety of the people that live on that road and keeping the traffic flowing. So, but thank you. We'll talk more.
Councilman Goldberg.
Thank you, Mayor. LJ, thank you for all you've done to make this come about, and your team, and to have, the last time that road was really worked on was 1966, I believe, when it was changed from single road to a double road. And so from 66 to now has been quite a time. So I think it's due. And again, I think the best thing to do is to have as much communication to the public as you can during this time. It will be some delays, always has been, but it will, in the long run, it will really work out for us. So I thank y'all for all your effort and what y'all are doing. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Comments? All right. Thank you very much, LJ. Appreciate it.